Well, hope you enjoyed your lunch and hope you're having fun as well. I look forward to listen to the first panel, moderated by Daniela. We'll have two guests in the panel. The first guest is Arvid Nordquist. Arvid started his career in the purchasing department for green coffee at Arvid Nordquist in 1986. In 1995, he took over as the managing director. Today, the family business, started by his grandfather in 1884, has offices in Finland, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Coffee production is one of their main areas of business, with Arvid Nordquist Coffee, their own coffee brand, accounting for a quarter of the market volume in Sweden. Other fields of operations are the distribution of well-known international foods, wine, great, and non-food products. The second panelist will be Johan Hintze. Johan started his career at Kafeko, the long-term partner and representative for Probat in the Nordic region. Except for a 2-year break where he left to work for Tetra Pak, he has been with the agency company specializing in the sale of processing and packaging technology and robotic solutions. Today, Kafeko Nordic covers the complete Nordic markets, including Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, and Iceland. So please.
Welcome to the stage, and a warm applause for Johan Hintze and Arvid Nordquist.
You don't have this
Please
mind your
take
step.
a seat. Oh, mind your step. Mind your step. It's like at the airport. Yeah. Well, the name of our panel and of what we want to talk about today is Northern Europe's Progressive Forerunners, a blueprint for other markets. But before we get started, of course, I would like you just to say a few words to the audience. Who are you? What is your company doing? How big is your company? Just let us know a little bit about you. So, Anders, would you like to get started?
Well, it's a great honor to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation. The company is a family business, and I've been working with the company since 1986, and I started in the green coffee purchasing department, and I was very fascinating about the coffee, and I am still very fascinating and happy that we are involved in the coffee business. Coffee represents about 36 to 38% of our turnover. And we have a turnover of about 380 million euros. We are 300 employees, and we are a very small family. It's myself and my 3 children. I'm from the. I think maybe you should ask.
I don't really mind. Maybe you want to say something too now, Johan, or we just want to let Anders finish?
Add something about me and the company I am representing. Yeah, Kafeko since 30 years in the business as an agency. One of our principals are Probat, and then we are also deeply into the packaging business with machines and solutions. We are a team of 15 people running the sales and after sales in the Nordic area. And I would say we run it a little bit different compared with other agencies. We have also in our activities, we have quite a good approach on the sustainable part of the business, trying to consult and help our customers to find the right solutions for the future demands. So we have been basically the last 2.5 years during the pandemic very much speaking about sustainability and the solutions for that.
So whenever there is somebody wanting to buy a roaster, they are already turning to you, asking how could they do it better or good enough to be sustainable?
Exactly, yeah, that's very much a discussion topic of today, and together with our principals, of course.
Yeah.
And then being glad to sit here with one of our best customers.
I'm happy that you are here.
Yeah, we're happy that we brought you together. So this is really good to have you both here on stage with us. So as you're both already in the business for quite a while, how did things actually change when we talk about sustainability first? I mean, just looking from my side, when I started here at Probat, things were done very different from what we do now. We are much more into focusing on how could we be more sustainable, what could we do to just have the processes done in the right way. How did things change from the time you took over the company, from the time you started working?
I was deeply involved in a new packing line back in 1993. We had an old package with a plastic lid, aluminium foil, and in a box. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we didn't know the name sustainability. We said it was overpacked. And today you should transfer it to be sustainable. But we had to change the package. We were well aware of that because it couldn't survive in the market. It was too costly, and today it's obvious that it couldn't survive. So we changed it to a single bag, a Bosch machine, mm-hmm. PKA. And that's one example, going back all the way to 1993, where we have made a decision in this way. And we have, in my philosophy, and not only my philosophy, the whole company's philosophy is to work with sustainability all the time. We have been planting 1.3 million trees in Nicaragua, Peru, and in Ethiopia in order to reduce carbon emissions. And we are the only company in Sweden doing this. And that was a decision taken in 2011. And then 2014, we decided to go 100% sustainability certified green coffee. And that was also a huge investment for us because we had to pay, or we are paying today, much more for the green coffee than a regular blend. And then in 2017, we decided to go biogas, use biogas when we are roasting our coffee. And so we have no emissions of carbon in our roasting operation. And this is just 3 examples or 4 examples. But we are doing this. It's integrated in our work so much that we are talking about the laminate, how to reduce the laminate, get rid of the plastic as soon as we can. So it goes hand in hand with what I believe in and what the employers believe in back home.
Yeah, I think this is the most important part. It's not just that you want to integrate it into your work, but you have to live it. You have to have the feeling for it, and you have to know that this, what you do, even though it might cost you more at the moment now, it will pay off in a later stage. And for me, always when it comes to coffee and packing coffee, it's like, of course, there have been a lot of things that have been tried out to make it more sustainable, but then we have to preserve the aroma and the taste of the coffee. So we cannot just use whatever would be good for our environment to put our coffee in, because of course we need to take care of what comes out of this package later on. So also here there has been some great changes.
That's a beauty with the sustainability, that you can combine that with a good cup of coffee that tastes good, because quality is always number 1 for us. If you don't like the cup of coffee you're drinking, you are not going to buy it again.
True.
And I think also that's the reason why the Nordic countries have such a high coffee consumption is that we have a high quality coffee in the market. But it's a beautiful thing that you can combine sustainability with high quality coffee.
True. That would have been my next question, because we see that here from our point of view, the Nordic states, they're always doing some things first, and then the rest is following. And Johan, you have insight on a more bigger market than we just have from the coffee side.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is
I think it goes hand in hand with the nature we are living in. A lot of people are living in cities and in urban areas, but very many of them have a weekend house or a summer cottage, and of course the nature is very close to all the consumers and people living in the Nordic area. I think that's a mind setting from the consumers and the people living there. That's the first step. Then one thing which I also think has been quite important, politicians are not always our favorites.
true?
But especially in these topics when it comes to sustainability and new rules and targets for how to be more sustainable and green in the future, I think they have made quite a good job, put limits and targets for the industry and also for consumers. So.
Yeah, so that you have to pay it off at some point if you want to set up a new factory. At the other hand, you kind of have to do something for the environment so that it's actually your right to put something in the nature, in the nice surrounding that kind of pays off later.
And then of course, as Anders mentioned, the most sustainable thing you can do is to protect the product. Because if you don't ship a product which has a high quality, it goes down the drain, and that's the first bad emission you produce. So that's of course the first protection, the first step here.
Yeah, and then people, as you said, they are not willing to pay that much money, even though the product itself might be quite sustainable. But if it won't taste good, then there would not be a reason to buy this. And this is all we need to do. So we have to keep.
Also have to realize that it's a challenging time now when coffee prices are booming, and on top of that we have a high inflation in Sweden of 9% today. Yeah. So it's tough times.
Yeah, but also here people probably have already a different believing in what they need to do, whereas in other countries this believing in how to protect nature is still on a very different and lower level of what we experience. And this is something we can actually look up to you and then just try to take it over, which is, of course, you have quite some time to have been prepared for this, whereas others, when they get started and they want to reach the same level, it just takes time. And this is also what you need to take into account. So, yeah.
And actually, some companies in our area, I'm not talking, for example, of a big cardboard paper producer like Stora Enso, which is based in Sweden and Finland. They have actually put now a target for 2050 to have a regenerative process when it comes to all emissions, meaning that every product they put on the market is recyclable and reusable and will actually consume CO2 or greenhouse emissions from the atmosphere. So they will be a netto producer of, negative producer of CO2 or greenhouse emissions. And this is something which is coming in now also. Within the next 2 to 3 years, some of the companies are taking the complete sustainable part of the business into their accounting. So it's going to be a part of the complete presentation and accounting of the company.
Yeah. But does also the digitalization had an impact on being more sustainable? Does that help out when you say you probably use a different software system to roast differently, to have less emission, to be able to probably watch what is coming out of the roaster of the machine? Or is that something like, I remember just a few 50 years ago or 100 years ago when we were re-roasting, we used coal, we used oil in between, and back then nobody really cared of what they blew out into nature, but they just cared about the taste of the product itself. So
I don't know. It's difficult to answer that. If digitalization has much, it helps us. We make big decisions, what we can achieve, what we believe we can achieve. And of course, digitalization is something that can help us, but yeah.
The experience I have from the food industry now with digitalization is that it's very much in its starting point at the moment. There has been a lot of discussions the last years about this, but actually actual steps has not yet been taken. They are preparing for it, but I think this is a topic for the next 1 to 5 years coming up.
So we're still walking in our baby shoes and
Exactly.
just trying to come up with new solutions, new ideas of how we can use the digitalization to be more sustainable, to have less waste, to have better repeatable roasting profiles that help us to actually...
That will help, sure.
Yeah. And then you have, of course, less product that you need to throw away, which also, for me as a trainer, when we do classes, I always tell my students, I rather have you waste a kilo of coffee in my class than going back home and doing it over there with a bigger machine, because here we just use a small machine. And even then we try to still use it to be less wasting the coffee.
But I mean, with digitalization here, I understand it as integrating the complete production process into one IT system and getting use of it. The optimized systems you have on your roasters, for example, they are already on a very high level when it comes to the digital solutions there. So.
And it's not only starting with the roaster, but it's already starting before, when purchasing the greens, choosing your greens, and also afterwards that you can follow the complete line. And this is also sometimes a thing that we see, that people, they focus on just on their process, on what they do, but of course we have to keep thinking of what happens before and what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
So, but again, what drives you, besides being probably closer to nature than others, to be so super inventive with your ideas? I mean, for you, Anders, you took over the family business, and I'm quite sure before that things just went completely different. So is there a point that you can make in time when you stepped in and said, okay, we have to change that, or did it just happen slowly over time?
We always want to be a good citizen and take responsibility for what we are doing. That's crucial for us. And we are also a very customer and consumer-oriented company. We think all the time, what can we do better for our customers? And we ask ourselves, what do the consumers want from us or from the customers? And answering those questions, we are willing to change and do what we believe is right for them. And that is actually what we are doing all the time. It's not coming to an end. This is just the beginning
Hopefully
of something
not.
else.
Yes, true.
And you know, we are a small or mid-sized company, and compared to big companies, it is we have an advantage because we can make very rapid decisions. We can implement our decisions quite fast compared to extremely big multinational organizations. And we just want to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, it's a matter of being better than the competitors, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And I read 2 days ago, I read an article about companies having a sustainable strategy and working also with these topics. They are in average 8% more profitable compared with companies who don't do it. So it's also a money attractor to work with these topics.
True. Yeah, and you kind of have to teach your customers that with purchasing the product, they're actually helping out the environment and become more sustainable instead of purchasing a different product, probably from a competitor, so that even if they need to pay more, they're willing to decide for your product and then go with this because it already gives them a good feeling. Like what a few years ago was you bought the coffee because they had the logos on them, and you were buying fair trade, or you were doing some certified coffee buying. I also think right now this is also driven a lot from the customers purchasing the product, because they want to get a good feeling too, that with only purchasing their coffee, the product that they want to have because they need it, they are already doing something good for the environment, and they be sustainable. And this is, I think, a big point where we have to teach the end consumer a little bit more.
But I think also that the end consumers, the customer, they know the demand from the end consumer very much so in Sweden, where certified coffees and sustainability is top priority all the time. I mean, all the people in this room are thinking about global warming and climate changes, and it's a threat for all of us. So I think it comes hand in hand with what we are doing.
Yeah. And this is what you actually wish for the rest also to realize and to go with it, and to also get started to thinking this, and not just think of how much money can I make with it, but what besides that can be done.
I mean, we are a population of 26, 27 million people in the Nordic area. We cannot change the world, but we can show how to do it, at least with examples. So I think that's also might be a driver for running these topics.
Yeah, definitely, because a lot of those trends actually we see first in the northern countries, and then we try to adapt it to our countries, and then just see, can we do the same? Can we make it possible to work in the same way? And I guess for a lot of people there are still some learnings to do. And of course also when we share this knowledge with being presented on a web page, or being presented in some sort of blogs or speeches or whatever, it helps to actually spread the word, so that people get more open for these possibilities. And also, we've spoken quite briefly about it yesterday. You're already employing quite some people, but when looking at smaller roasters, is there any recommendation you could give them? What should they do to probably either stay on the same level of sustainability of what they have now, or even become better when they grow? Is there, like from your side, when they decide to get a bigger machine, is there, do you go there and do you advise them what they can do?
I mean, we're also working with the shop roasters, not in the all Nordic area, but in Norway and Finland. What we have seen many times is that when these small startups or small businesses are growing, and they need to get everything automized, they need to industrialize the production, especially the packaging part. Roasting is roasting, that's already easy to automate. It's not easy to convert the manual packages, the manual filled packages they have, to a concept which is runnable on an industrial scale. You quite often get challenges there with the shape of the package and the material used. So that's perhaps a thing you should think of when you really are a startup. And hey, I start with 5 kg now and sell 20 kilograms a week. But if your goal is to be bigger, think about how to industrialize the complete packaging line.
Yeah. So that it's not just that one person doing everything all the time, but then of course also getting...
and this is sustainability, because the manual filled packages are quite often, you cannot run them on an automatic system. So you need to think about what kind of materials you're using.
Yeah, so you actually have to, usually when you think of becoming bigger, you kind of need to start like 5 years earlier to start rethinking the complete process of what you should all keep in mind.
Yeah, it's not easy, but an advice.
Yeah.
But the size of the business is one thing, but doing the right thing, what you would like to do with your business, that's the most important thing. And if you're if you want to succeed, I think you should have two focuses, one on sustainability and one on quality. Anyway, if you want to succeed in the Swedish market or the northern market. And the size doesn't matter. This sounds maybe crazy, but if we are number 1 or number 2 or number 3 in the Swedish market, I never look at that. It doesn't matter. I want to fill the roasting plant with full capacity, so it's getting as profitable as possible. But we have to stick to what we are doing to have this fulfill the sustainability mentality we have and goals and also quality. If you start to produce coffee with lower quality and just in order to be more and more profitable, then you are in a very risky way, I think. And if you don't care about sustainability, I don't think you will be accepted by our customers.
Yeah, true. It has to go all hand in hand. This is what you said before. And you have to be a strong believer in what you do, because this is the only way how you can actually pass on this feeling to the customer, to the end consumer, so that they have a good understanding of why are we actually doing this? Why are you actually doing what you do? It's, of course, to keep the sustainable or the sustainability, but also you need to keep the quality of what comes out in terms of being in the beverage.
Absolutely.
Is there any strategy that you have to point this out to your customers, to the end consumer, or do you just hope for them to realize it by buying the product? Or
we promote them all the time. We make our customer calls. I don't know how many times a week, and we have to fight in order for them to accept our prices, because we are more expensive than others. And they accept it to a limit, of course. But if we don't are that visible in media, magazines, and doing a lot of advertisement, we do it a lot with our customers and try also to communicate to our consumers in different kind of medias.
Yeah, I think it's something very important, so that people actually know. And I guess with some it's easier to convince them, and with some probably it will take a little bit more effort to do so. But this is just a normal way. I think this is also when selling roasters, which have a certain price for sure, and you point out that it might be better to get this type of machine because you already do something for the future to be more sustainable compared to others, because sometimes they only see what they do at the moment, they see how much money they need to spend right now, and then maybe just that little bit more to be more sustainable in future thinking has to be actually quite accepted by the customer before they are willing to do so. So is that a topic when it comes to selling the machines?
I was just about to say that in the future it looks like now we have a project starting up. I will not mention any name. It's not in the coffee industry, but it's a project set for the next 50 years, a new plant. And the complete concept starts from an external consultant who will take care of the complete sustainable process, checking all the steps that they follow the right path. And this is also giving them a better position for financing the project. They get better interest rates by using this external consult. And the complete process is with starting calculating the complete carbon footprint over a 50-year life cycle for the machines, what it costs to in producing the machines for the environment, what it costs to use the machinery, the processes, and what is the cost for the environment to get rid of the machines when they are coming to an end of their lifetime. So a very big overall picture of how to keep the business as sustainable as possible in the future.
Yeah, yeah, we experience something which is quite similar to that because just recently or a short time ago, we brought out our PO3 series in the 5 and 12 kilo as electrical version again, where in the beginning I thought, whoa, now we start this. But now it's just the idea behind that is, of course, what happens with the gas, what will happen with different heating sources. And also here we go, the machine of course is slightly more expensive, and of course all the settings will be cost more, but in the end there's already been some good talks to the customers, and a lot of them, they decided actually for the machine due to being more sustainable in the future, maybe getting their own green power to run the machine, which of course they need to add a little bit more to it. But it makes a lot of sense for them already to not using the heating sources we know so far, but do different stuff and just show with that, hey, we're willing to pay more, but of course at the end it will all pay off.
You know, we are in the process of building a new roasting plant, and now we have decided to build it in wood. 73% of the building will be in wood, and it costs much more than the other alternative. And but if we shouldn't make that decision, we should be. I think I should lose trust among my employers. They should. What the hell are we doing? How can we? Why don't we build in wood? I mean, everyone in the company and the organization is so focused on what we are doing that we are doing the right step all the time. So, and there is already a roaster in Norway in wood, and I visited and I said, it's fantastic. We must do it also. There are no alternatives.
But Anders, this means that when we bring in the new Probat equipment to your factory, we need a chainsaw. Not a mobile crane.
So the Nordic countries
two chainsaws.
The Nordic countries are learning from the Nordic countries. This is something I really like.
You have to help me.
I'm quite sure this will be not a big problem. Otherwise, we're going to put it back afterwards.
No, but it's interesting that we are making these decisions because it's very costly. It costs much more than to do all this, but it pays off.
Yeah, but
It's
in the
the right
beginning,
thing.
there will be a lot of people saying, like what you just said, are you crazy? Why are you do that? Why do you spend so much money on building this in wood and not be normal? So, but this is like what we heard in the morning already. Coffee people are a little bit weird, luckily. So they try to do the right things first, and even though if it costs a little bit more, it will pay off quite well afterwards.
I mean, all in all, coffee is a business which is quite profitable. So, in that case, we are on a good field, so to say.
And I think people, they won't stop drinking coffee just because the factory setup is a little bit more expensive or the coffee gets a little bit more expensive. We will always go back to drinking coffee. I mean, we've seen that in the last few months that the prices for the coffee is just also going up incredibly. And still, people want to enjoy the coffee. And this is luckily what keeps us alive and being in business. So this is always a good thing.
But saying that, the volume in Sweden is down by 9% this year, due to high coffee prices.
Yeah.
And if this will continue, we will face difficult times, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will continue like this, because everyone needs a cup of coffee at least 3-4 times a day.
Yeah.
and then and you haven't. I haven't heard anything about that so far during the presentations. But coffee is today regarded as a health beverage. And it's if you talk to a doctor, it says start drink coffee. It's actually true, and you can't find any negative articles about coffee in medicine magazines.
But just think a few years back, it was right the other way around, where they told you don't drink so much coffee because it will bring your blood pressure up high. And now it's the other way around, which is actually even better for us, of course. Well, thank you for joining the stage with me today. Thank you for the interesting panel discussion. And I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of the day. And if there's nothing more that you would like to say, I would like to say thanks for being here, being up here with me on stage, and giving that very interesting insights on the Nordic market.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anders and Daniela. Thank you.